Thank you to Autodesk for that very interesting presentation. And I'm supposedly the elected by default coordinator of the CITA BIM group, and CITA have asked me to give a quick overview and review of the last 5 sessions which we've had, which have focused on building information modeling, and maybe give a bit of an indication of where CITA are planning to go through the efforts of the BIM working group. So as a quick review, the BIM series started in June, and I was privileged to give a sort of introduction to the concepts of BIM and share some of the benefits that we personally have experienced through as a practice, and offer some thoughts on why we believe BIM is going to provide a new hope for our industry, for better collaboration and providing a competitive edge in the current economic climate. And Gary Bowen from DIT went on to explain how BIM extends collaboration further beyond 3D design to 4D programming, 5D costing, 6D sustainability optimization, and 7D post-construction facilities management. Then we had Bernard Voigtman from Cummings Voigtman Architects, who gave a compelling demonstration of how a small-medium architectural practice is gaining tremendous benefits over in the in-house process by using BIM tools on both small and large projects. This was followed by Alan McDonald from Graphisoft, who gave an exciting overview of Graphisoft's BIM software range, showing how products like EcoDesigner, MEP Modeler, Virtual Building, Explorer extended the capabilities of their flagship ArchiCAD product. Then we had David Evans and Stephen Jackson from Tekla, who demonstrated how the Tekla Structures BIM product goes further than just steel and concrete detailing into the whole area of construction management by having the ability to link multiple formats into an integrated model. The last session was Paul Smith and Andy Glide from Bentley Systems, who showed how Bentley have taken project collaboration to a much higher level with the ability to, with their project-wise software, with the ability to link documentation and project teams together, and that's just one element of their extensive suite of BIM software products. And of course today we had Autodesk, who gave a very compelling presentation of all their offerings, and so what have we learned from all these sessions? What have we come away with? Has it just opened up a whole new set of questions? And certainly we've seen some amazing things, and you may be thinking that there must be some catch, or it's probably too advanced for our current situation, or even that it isn't relevant to small, medium enterprises. And there seems to be some confusion over the vast array of product solutions out there, and maybe even some resentment that these aren't affordable. And there are questions about whether the key stakeholders are aware of BIM, or if they really want this. And of course, there's many misconceptions. So I'll try to briefly deal with some of these issues. I thought the CITA Star Wars theme for the BIM series was very amusing, but unfortunately for me, it suggests that it's all futuristic stuff. And the reality is, if anyone is willing to pull their head out of the sand of depression and recession for a minute and really look into this and do some research, you'll quickly find that the BIM revolution is happening, and Ireland is already way behind other countries like the US, Canada, Northern Europe, Australia, Singapore, South Africa, just to name a few sort of first world economies. And where do we position ourselves as Ireland in this global market? Are we really willing to lose our competitive advantage of the skill and knowledge we gained over the last 10 to 15 years just because of our stubborn unwillingness to embrace new technologies? I mentioned previously the global trend to working in BIM, clearly evident in the 2009 McGraw-Hill Construction Survey report, which showed that at least 50% of the industry in the US are already using these tools. That's a 75% increase since 2007. And the latest 2010 report from McGraw-Hill shows how the US market have moved on further to consider BIM to consider how BIM can contribute to the green building design and construction. Meanwhile, here in Ireland, we are still debating whether or not to embrace this technology. And the longer we deliberate, the more relevant our lack of skill in this area will become. I recently had a salaried employee from a government-funded agency suggest to me that BIM is not relevant to a small, medium enterprise. And for me, herein lies the problem, that the people controlling the purse strings of the agency set up with the express purpose to enable small, medium enterprise in Ireland are often completely out of touch with the reality of the industry and running business. I am a small business owner. We have embraced BIM for the very reason that it allows us to work far more efficiently and intelligently address what's happening in our market. We realized for ourselves that simply cutting overheads and reducing fees and profit margins in order to survive was not a sustainable model, and we needed a fundamental change in the way we worked. And we've managed to achieve tremendous productivity gains in our own internal process. And I know that adopting BIM is key to our short-term survival and long-term profitability. So from first-hand experience, I can tell you that BIM is very relevant to a small and medium enterprise. And two of the most common barriers or maybe excuses cited against implementing BIM are the investment cost and the effect on your current productivity in your business. And let's have a look at these, because actually they're very closely related and they should be considered together. I mean, yes, there will be an initial drop in productivity as you implement new systems. But with the right combination of training and project assistance, we believe technical staff should be back at a similar level of productivity within 3 months. And productivity during this learning period should only be down to 25 to 50% to account for the training and learning time. However, after that period, you should expect to see between 25 to 100% increase in productivity with some of the features that Joe was demonstrating, how quick things can be in these fantastic tools. And so you should see a significant overall gain within the first year of implementing BIM. And to minimize the impact to your business, you can also stagger the implementation on a project and team basis. And if you're going through a quiet period, why not make good use of the time by getting through the learning period, by taking advantage of some of the fantastic training that the CITA Skill Nets, for instance, has put together. And as a small business owner, I know all too well how difficult it can be to obtain funding to implement new technologies and to cover the costs of BIM software and hardware and training. However, you can't just look at the cost. Any business owner will quickly realize that the direct labor cost is by far the biggest recurring expense in their business. And when considering the cost into investment in BIM tools, you have to offset this against the productivity gains that you anticipate. The formula that the number crunchers out there use is called return on investment, which looks at the potential earnings or savings that will result from the investment divided by the cost of the investment. And here's a formula which is available on Autodesk's website, which also takes into account the productivity losses during the learning period and the productivity gains after that period. So if you take, for example, a technical staff member earning maybe 45,000 euros a year, and let's assume a high productivity loss of 50% during the learning period and a modest productivity gain of 25% after that period. And also assume you have to make the full investment upfront in year 1. Even so, this calculation shows that you could expect a 58% return on your investment within 12 months. Now, by anybody's standard, that's a good investment. I mean, your bank's not going to give you that. So, I mean, let's consider quickly just the practical applications of these numbers to, say, a small, medium business of 10 staff. Okay, I won't go through all the details now. I'm sure this presentation will be made available and you can look at it in more detail. But the main point that is, if you choose to maintain your current systems and your current numbers of staff over the next 5-year period, say, there's unlikely to be any significant growth in your business. You could scale your business by keeping your current systems and employing additional staff to increase your turnover. For example, let's say you plan to double your staff over the next 5 years. If you haven't made any change to your working procedure, the increase in labor will be directly related to the increase in profits. So compared to the previous example, you could increase your turnover and profit by 51% over the period, but this is matched by a corresponding increase in direct labor. So for me, the better alternative is to maintain your current staff over the same period, but focus on their productivity by implementing new systems and technologies. As described earlier, you should expect at least 25 to 100% improvement in productivity over the period. As in the previous example, your turnover has increased by 51% over the period, but your direct labor cost hasn't, so your profits increased by 110%, which is more than doubled. And yeah, in this formula, I've even taken into account the investment into the new technologies, spreading the costs over a 5-year period. So the total cost of investment is only about 1.1% of your turnover for the period, or 3.1% of your direct labor cost. So in my mind, investing 3.1% to get 110% makes good sense to any small and medium business.